Hey everyone, it's Audrey. Today we're going to just kind of recap my first blog post that I ever wrote. So it's a very old blog post on BPD Beautiful. Now this was originally posted in 2019, so 4 years ago now. Wow. In the blog post, I pretty much lay out a journal entry that I had written during an episode. And 6 weeks after that episode, I posted it, and I had some takeaways at the time. I'm just curious here how things have changed, because I actually haven't read this post in a long time. Okay. Also, at the time of posting this, originally, I was not in remission, which I am in now, so this should be interesting. So first, let's quickly go over what causes a BPD episode. So in my case, a BPD episode usually happens after my fear of abandonment or fear of rejection are either triggered by an outside stimulus, which could be an innocent joke taken the wrong way or being left out of a conversation, my own distorted thought processes, so obsessing over a trigger or stress before it even happens, or reliving a traumatic or upsetting memory that causes me to split. So episodes for me, at least, are usually started by the former and drawn out by the latter. They can last anywhere from a couple of minutes to several hours. And just so you know, I am reading this. You can actually see the original blog post. I'm going to have it linked below. It's my most read blog post to date, so that's pretty cool. Let's see. So that's what I wrote at the time to describe what causes a BPD episode, which I would say is pretty on point, although these episodes don't nearly happen as often as they did. I can't actually remember my last episode. I'm not saying that to brag. It's been like months, like a lot of months. That's awesome. Not to say I never get anxious, though. Okay, so anyway, back to the blog post. So, what it's like to have a favorite person. I'll just quickly read into this. Admittedly, I don't remember what caused the episode I documented, which I'm going to read below. I most likely took a comment Brian, my now ex, at the time he was my partner, said the wrong way, given the context of my thoughts. Brian is my fiance and longtime favorite person, which is BPD speak for the person you, a lot of the times unwillingly, obsess over, split with, and get triggered by the most. I just want to preface this by saying that this relationship is actually incredibly unhealthy. Now, you might see me idealizing him in this post. We will see. I don't remember. So, anyway, back to the post. So, a favorite person is someone that can make or break your day with a simple facial expression. Your whole existence depends on this one person. Of course, placing someone on a pedestal like this and eventually knocking them off when you split in the opposite direction can lead to toxic, clingy behavior and unsatisfying relationships for both the person with BPD and the one without. If you know me or Brian, you know that after years of joint hard work and learning, here we come with the idolization, practicing new skills, one-sided by the way, our relationship is pretty healthy. We were in the love bombing stage at the time. Anyway, especially considering I have borderline personality disorder. In the text below, or what I'm going to read to you in a minute, you'll see me begin to split, causing me to devalue him, our relationship, as well as myself. So for those who don't understand what splitting is, it comes down to all or nothing or black and white thinking. So in essence, people with BPD have trouble balancing between two extremes or opposing beliefs. So if you're still not sure how that plays out in the mind of someone with BPD, I hope listening to this will help you. I'm going to read my journal entry in a second. The total episode, starting from before I started writing to the end of the text, lasted between 4 to 5 hours. I remember this episode. This episode sucked. Okay, so I wrote the below out by hand while it was happening, and I typed it up 2 weeks after the fact. So this is an intense 5-hour-long BPD episode. I feel almost possessed. My thoughts are happening so rapidly. I can barely keep up and write them down. I'm multitasking between them to try and distract myself from the overwhelming darkness I'm currently in and have been in for about 3 hours now. Just before I started writing this, I was crying because I remembered a fight between Brian and I from around 5 years ago. I remembered Brian's cold, frustrated, and resentful response to my desperate pleas for open communication. Since I already felt completely numb and utterly worthless, when I had the vivid memory, I lost it for a couple minutes until I felt numb again and decided to write this all down. I think Brian needs to come with me to a session with Ellen, my therapist, because we've been fighting more over the last month. Okay, I wrote in takeaway, this isn't fully true. I was having a bad week, and we tend to have more misunderstandings on my bad weeks. Yeah. Maybe a couple sessions together would help us, but now a very familiar gut-wrenching sense of dread comes over me. I worry I'll get triggered during one of these sessions. I think maybe we shouldn't do it. I imagine scenarios in my head. I can see us sitting on our bed talking with Ellen via video chat, thanks to COVID. I see me getting triggered by something someone says and feeling ganged up on. I already feel the intense embarrassment and deep-rooted shame, as if it's happening now. I can feel the heat raising up my neck to my face as the overwhelming emotions just manifest into rage. Suddenly, I remember I'll never escape this pain because I will always have borderline personality disorder. And yes, pain, because the feelings are intense. It's hard to describe how strong the feelings are with words. When my fears of abandonment or rejection get triggered, I feel as if I'm witnessing someone I love getting gruesomely hurt in a tragic accident. Like I just lost them. Forever. My whole body feels traumatized and my emotions are unshakable. My fight or flight response kicks in, and I usually pick the former until it gets to be too much. Then I flee faster than you can blink. I just put down my pen and started crying again. My whole existence, forever having BPD, feels bleak and hopeless. Why should anyone suffer with this? I wish I could be numb again. I tell myself to keep writing because it seems to help me get out of an emotional mind and into a more logical place. I had just started DBT. I was pretty proud of that. I think 3 months of lockdown from COVID has exacerbated my symptoms so gradually that I'm only now realizing it. And a takeaway I wrote was, I don't know about that. I've been making progress. If anything, even just writing this down when I couldn't 2 months ago at Ellen's request is progress. Brian is currently the only person besides my son that I see in person on a daily basis, thanks to the lockdown. No wonder my love obsession has only gotten stronger. I need more human interaction. I'm a loner, but I'm not used to being this secluded. Even just going to the gym alone, but being around people would help. Imagine Brian laughing at me and saying, how would that help? And I wrote in a takeaway that has not ever happened. My mind loves to make up triggering situations. And I would actually take a current 2023 takeaway into that and say, stuff like that absolutely did happen. But still, it is true that, when you have BPD, your mind loves to make up those triggering situations in your head. Anyway, back to the episode, and that hollow sense of dread in my stomach returns. That's all too familiar shame. I harp on that image in my mind for a moment, then remind myself to write again, since it's helping. For the record, I really do hate torturing and traumatizing myself with regular daydreams of people I love acting out my worst fears. But it's like the BPD forces me to get stuck in my own cycle of abuse. The same as every other time I'm in the midst of a BPD episode, I feel exhausted mentally, but don't let myself rest. Like I need to punish myself. And I wrote in a takeaway, even though you had to wake up early the next day, Audrey, self-sabotaging. A hallmark BPD trait at its finest. My thoughts quickly switch and I find myself worrying about my relationship. Okay, so to recap, spending too much time with Brian has made me regress. I realize I have to go through a desensitization period again and try and separate myself. It also means I have to relearn to accept that he will sometimes go out without me again, as our state slowly reopens in phases to prevent a second wave of COVID. All of this scares me to death, even if I've done all this before to get to a healthier place. I fear these things and things like this because I'm deathly afraid of being abandoned. And for some reason, things like this feel like abandonment. I'm not really sure why. I'm also terrified of missing out and of people I love having more fun without me. I guess because in a way, those things feel like rejection. I don't really understand BPD's reasoning, but I am self-aware enough to know that these fears and my, at times, odd behavior to prevent these fears from becoming reality are sometimes incredibly irrational. Hey, it's my wise mind. I feel pathetic, and it's gone. Like a small child lost in an amusement park. I don't want to control Brian. I don't want to be that wife. I hate that my fears sometimes scare me into trying to control everything and everyone. I absolutely hate it, and I'm ashamed of it. I hate myself. Oh, God. Don't do that. And just like that, I remember vividly when Brian said it was bad in the beginning, the middle, and the end. Once, I claimed things were at one point getting better between us, but then we'd started fighting again. That was his response. That's such a jerk response. And I wrote a takeaway. This is probably going to be some bullshit. This was about 4 to 5 years ago during an argument. We didn't know I had BPD. We hadn't started actively working on our communication. I don't know what the point of harping on this memory is since it has no bearing on Brian's feelings in the present day. That's BPD for you. Well, I don't know. I don't know about that. Rehearing those words in my head again spirals me back into the emotions. It's like I'm back in our old bedroom, hearing him mutter the words right next to me, and the empty stomach feeling of shame is back instantly. I think of how I'm ruining the relationship yet again. Oh, yeah. I was kind of blamed for that a lot. Let's see. I remind myself I'll only keep doing this with other relationships, even the non-romantic ones. I start crying again because I don't want to be alone or live a life without Brian, but it feels like I have no choice. I think of how hard it must be for Brian to deal with all this. More guilt, more shame. He can't even talk to me about it because he knows I get triggered too easily. More guilt, more shame. I wouldn't want to be with me. Am I projecting my feelings about myself onto him? No, I believe they are his feelings because anyone rational would see that I'm not worth the trouble. Oof. It's been 2 hours. 2 hours of sitting here, writing and crying, writing and crying. It feels like it's been 30 minutes. Where is my night gone? It's 2 a.m. I don't even remember everything I wrote. At this point, I'm completely numb and uncaring. My eyes are heavy and burning. My hand hurts. And I'm done. Okay, so 2 weeks later, I wrote that not all of my BPD episodes are as extensive or as severe as this one was. Sometimes it disappears as quickly as it comes. 2 weeks later, I don't feel the way I felt above. No. My emotions and thoughts can pass quickly, or they can linger and build up if it's caused by a consistent trigger. I personally dissociate during more severe episodes. The dissociation is the numbness I kept mentioning, where I feel as though I'm floating and my mind feels separated from my body. I lose time while dissociating. It's a coping mechanism I've been doing since I was 11. It's actually one of the few symptoms that I still do pretty regularly. All right, not everyone with BPD dissociates, but a lot of people with BPD that I've spoken to or have come across online do. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's it. There are steps and like things that you can do if you suspect that you have BPD or your loved one does. And they're on the blog, so just click the link below. I don't want to keep this video any longer than it already is. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.